Friday was Mazingira Day, where people planted trees, and Kenyans turned up and they planted trees in number. What we are being told about the number of trees that were planted or not, maybe Kenya doesn't have enough space to put all of that together. But beyond the tree planting, there were other things that happened then going into the weekend, and it would appear as though there were alliances then that were agreed upon, and it's going to take Kenya to the next level. To help us out in that conversation this morning in terms of whether these previously perceived realignments are now re-perceived and where it might take Kenya is advocate of the High Court and deputy party leader of the Safina party, Willis Otieno. Good morning, Wakili.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes.
Are you feeling that there is a brand new Kenya on the horizon? Just say yes or no before I ask you, then okay.
Not with the legacy politicians.
Not there.
But with the people of Kenya.
Okay. Dennis Asseto wants to tell you something.
And the proverb today just lies on the same direction. But today we are in Liberia, now a country of many firsts. Now it is the first African country to have been independent. That is in 26th of July, 1847, as well as the first country to ever have the first female president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, in 2005. Let's go to the proverb. No matter how long the dry season lasts, the rain will come again.
However tough things may be, tomorrow will promise a better day. So I interpret to mean that even when you are going through tough times, just rest assured that there is a better tomorrow that will come. So even Kenyans today, despite these failures of the legacy politicians, this is not our fate. Tomorrow will be better.
Okay. Tomorrow will be better?
Tomorrow will be better.
Okay. I think of a song that Michael Jackson sang. Tomorrow will be a better you, a better me. It's interesting how that music just comes back and reverberates today. But even as we talk about that, the moves that are being made, the things that are being said, the political realignments that are happening, Willis, you got to agree with me that in the minds of those who say these things or form these alliances, that there is an inherent belief that it is actually for the betterment of the nation. Is it?
Let me put it this way. You should actually ask yourself, how have we been reduced to discuss legacy politicians as if they are the future? At what point did they capture the spirit of the Kenyan people that was leading a revolution last year? When the young people came out to demonstrate, it was on an issue. They defined the issue to be the economy, and they were united across the divide. There was no space for legacy politicians in that conversation. In fact, they were boldly saying, keep off, leave this one to us. This is our fight now. But now all of a sudden you'll think that it is a legacy politician-driven process towards the new Kenya, the future. It's not. These guys were all cancelled. So what I see in them is just a group that is threatened. And they want to maintain their positions in power. So they are regrouping. They decide to mutate into one side is 2 term, one side is 1 term. But they're all the same. Because last year when, for example, when the issue was the economy, it was very clear, a very clear divide that this is an issue that we are agitating over and it unites all Kenyans. If you don't want it, you take one side. If you want to improve our economy, take the side of the people. But today we are told these are the two formations of united opposition, CG government side, Kenya 2 term. But underlying these formations, what is there? If not personalities. That is why Gideon, for example, will casually walk from the opposition into government, and they continue. Gachagua will be removed from government and walk into the opposition, and they continue. It's not about the Kenyan people. It's not about an issue. It's about these legacy politicians, and we must reject this kind of politics.
You're saying that it's about people and their selfish motive.
Yeah, it's purely selfish motives. There's nothing. What has changed, for example, since the times when William Ruto was bad? Overnight, what has changed? The quality of life has continued to deteriorate. It's more painful to live in this country than it was last year. You are spending more in terms of your disposable income. You are spending more to live than earning. Your earning has shrunk, it has not increased. You are spending more on healthcare than you are spending last year. So what has improved? And there is no promise that tomorrow is going to be any better based on their policies. Tomorrow is just even a promise of more pain. So the only thing that may have improved is now individuals, certain individuals, their per capita, their income, their own selfish earnings. So maybe they've increased in terms of how much money they're going to make out of government. That's the motivation. But that is to the individual, not to the Kenyan people.
So, Willis, I hear you say this all is to retain power, not really to serve people. Because if we go back to the campaign period, there was a clear divide, hustlers versus dynasties. And if you look at the formation right now, especially what President Ruto has done, look at Raila Odinga broad-based government. Uhuru Kenyatta, he says, I met with Uhuru Kenyatta, we had this discussion, and we even saw them bromance along State House. You look at Gideon Moi now joining Kenya Kwanza, UDA. Is it for them to just retain power as legacy politicians as they have been and not interested in serving the people?
If they were interested in serving the people, look at the sum total of these legacy politicians' time in government or in public space. What's the sum total of it? A failed economy. Between William Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, Gideon Moi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Rigathi Gachagua, Moses Wetangula, Mudavadi, add all of them. Between them, they have not less than 200 years experience in government. Cumulatively, all the years, if you add each of them, the number of years they've spent in government, not less than 200 years. And the sum total of it today is a healthcare system that has collapsed. An education system that has collapsed. You have a high cost of living. Kenyans are not able to participate in this economy, majority of them. That's the sum total of their work. So if in 200 years they have not been able to serve the Kenyan people, now you think in the next 5 years they will serve you. What they could do in 200 with their 200 years of experience.
Well, it's not even in the next 5 years. Because if you listen to what the president said on Saturday and what he said yesterday, and I want us to just flesh this out. He talked about the country, the unity now, that Raila is in the broad-based government and now Gideon Moi is also joining. He said that he's engaging all leaders because three things. He said this is a project, number one. And number two, he said this is a program. And number three, he said this is a vision that requires each one of us. And just to extend this, he said his administration has a clear roadmap to transform Kenya from a developing to a first world nation, and the reference, of course, is Singapore and South Korea, within the next 30 years. So this is not a 2-year or 3-year plan. He said there's a plan and a roadmap, a clear one, to move this country to a first world nation within the next 30 years. Emphasizing that the country has already made significant strides over the past 3 years. And listening to him on Saturday, he made reference to, the founding father, all the way to former late President Daniel Moi, talking about healthcare, education, and so many other things, and improving on it. So it looks like there's a 30-year-old plan.
So they have a 30-year-old plan for them to economically empower themselves. That's a 30-year-old plan. The Kenyan people are not in that plan. Because if they were, the policies that they're coming up with, you'll be seeing the impact. The manner in which they are governing, you'll be seeing a difference. But if the same person is superintending over an administration that pays a mud thatched house in Mandera 20 million Kenya shillings in shift share, yet Mandera Provincial Hospital, Sub-County Hospital, is getting a pitiable sum. And yet that same Mandera Sub-County Hospital is the one that's responsible to attend to many other Kenyans, to more Kenyans than that funny thing they were paying that much money. So the design of the governance structure that they have itself is telling you they are not on any 30-year plan to make Kenya great. They're on a 30-year plan to make themselves individually great. These are all just philanderers. They are purveying, they are stealing from the Kenyan people, and they have no iota of intent to improve the lives of the Kenyan people. And I do believe where I sit, as Safina party, that we even waste a lot of time discussing them. At what point did we lose it? In fact, I've been struggling with this over the weekend. At what point did we lose it that last year, the conversation was about the economy, and there was no politician showing us a face as the leader. But then all of a sudden, it seems that the politicians are trying to force Kenyans into a discussion about them. So look at it. The united opposition comes up with 1 term. Ruto responds by saying 2 term. Right? So now the conversation is reduced to 1 term or 2 term. Correct. But the issue about Mwananchi is lost. Number 2, they say we're united opposition. He goes to get Raila Odinga. He goes to get Gideon Moi. Now, we are also uniting Kenyans. So what is unity? Were we divided? If anything, before this united opposition, before this united Ruto thing, we were united already on the economy as the issue. So what they've done is they've divided us by creating artificial differences. That you are 1 term, you are 2 term. You are united opposition, whereas we are united government. What happened to your issue? It's diluted, it's lost.
Does it make sense that here we are? I mean, just look at some of the things that you mentioned, and these are not things that we're not pulling things out of the sky, right? These are realities. So, I mean, one of the things that I'm really, really, really passionate about is ensuring that the children of any society are educated, at the very least. You know, if you got a warm meal in your belly, and then you can actually go to school at whatever curriculum you want to use, that you should then be able to get the foundations of that. So if you want to even use the education sector as an example of how things are falling apart around, let's not even talk about the schools that are ramshackles, where children are sitting under the sun, or maybe in a shack somewhere, or that in this Nairobi, where you have some of the highest levels of urban poverty, and that there are 100 students crammed into a classroom, and the teacher is standing at the window to teach. This is reality. This is not making things up to sound sensational. These things are happening in this country every day. If we look at that sector and say, you know, at the very least, if we spent time and resources and expertise fixing this thing, it would take us somewhere. How do we shift that to the realities of the day? Because these are the realities, Willis. Dennis gave an example of Singapore, whereby the education system is matched to the job industry. So you're training your people. You are teaching your children from the time that they're growing up, and you're matching them to the industry needs for the future. I know it sounds like space, but it's a reality. Again, they're human beings with one head and a brain like the rest of us. So when we look at these things and how they are operating, should our attention be on how you want to bring, I mean, how many people are these? Max 100 people that are coming together and forming some kind of government, when you have millions of children, for example, who are going to school and being taught at levels that are shameful at best.
You know, Ndu, in your design, you're focusing on the people of Kenya.
As we should, no?
No, that's in your design.
Oh,
in their design. In their design, they don't care about it. It's about how do we manipulate these Kenyans for our own individual benefit. That is why their focus is on the 100. Your design, the focus is on the millions. Because you think that they are there for the benefit of the people of Kenya. No, it is not. And the Kenyan people need to understand this. These legacy politicians are not there for your benefit. Everything they do is for their own selfish interest. You are not part of it. When they come to interface with you, it is purely to hoodwink you, to lie to you, to manipulate you, to achieve their selfish individual interests. Otherwise, we will not be discussing today that who is going to be the next president, or which formation is going to do the campaigns. No. We should be discussing what issue. We should be discussing that Willis and Safina, they represent this in terms of the economy. This is their promise in terms of education. This is their promise in terms of security. Then you say that formation of Kenya Kwanza, this is their design in terms of education, this is their proposal in terms of security. So we'll be discussing the basic issue, the issues that each team is representing. But today we are discussing personalities. It's them. It's not your issue. Where do you see yourself in the individual personalities? What does William Ruto represent to the Kenyan people? Yeah, what is the connection between him and the Kenyan people today in terms of issue? Somebody you can casually, in day one, when he goes to campaign, he says Asla versus dynasty. Now, it is dynasties led by himself versus Aslas. So it's about manipulating you. And we have to reject this kind of legacy politics. Let's focus on Kenyan issues. And that is why Safina party, where I am the deputy party, they were very clear. We'll never join any coalition if it has not defined why you are coalescing. Why are you uniting? What is your promise? What is your commitment with the people?
But really, it looks like you in this country can't really say never because, and somebody has asked a question here. It seems like everybody has a price.
I don't
at this
believe,
point.
I don't believe everybody has a prize. It simply believes that we are putting too much premium on charlatans, people who don't have any value system. They are the ones who are propped up, and you think that they represent the mass. They don't. Kenyan people need to be more critical in terms of identifying the quality of leaders that they want. And they should not identify it based on the individual, based on the promise. What is the commitment? What is it that you are representing? So that you don't go to vote for Willis. Vote for the issue that Willis represents. But if you just vote for Willis, what is your interest in that vote? Nothing. So Willis can simply walk in and sell that vote. Compromise. That's when we say everyone has a prize. Because when you voted him, what is it that was the commitment that you pegged him on? You bounded him on? Nothing.
You see, Willis, a lot has been mentioned about Singapore. We've earlier looked at what Singapore did, fought corruption, tailor-made education to fit what it is they need. You look at infrastructure. But you look at the promise that was given to Kenyans during the campaign period vis-a-vis what is happening right now, and nothing really is happening. And as we approach 2027 now, we have all these formations that are coming into place. Kenyans have the agenda and what it is they want. Question is now, Willis, how can we all jump on this conversation and Kenyans make it their own, not designed or decided by the legacy politicians?
In fact, what we should start by saying is that we should first demand of every political formation, anybody that wants to assume leadership, to come up with their promise. And the Kenyan people should stop listening to sloganeering. You must test if whatever you are being promised is tangible. And what is it pegged on? You know, Hustler and Dynasty, that was a con game. And you could see it from the beginning. Because somebody tells you, nitatenga, nitapeana. Who are you to tenga? Nitapeana mamboga 10 billion. From where? Yeah, we must also be a bit critical. When somebody says, I'll give you 10 billion, you should ask him from where? Yeah. So kwani you have another money tree somewhere that produces tree in your house every evening and then you bring it to the people. It is the people's money. Ask these politicals, when you assume office, what will you do? And how do we hold you accountable to your promise? Like as Safina, we are very clear. We are saying we will not pay odious debt. And the consequence of it, we are saying education will be free from primary, secondary, to tertiary. The money used to pay for the odious illegal debts applied to education. Number 3, we are saying, don't pay for healthcare. The money that was being spent on paying illegal debt, fund it, put it in the healthcare system. And if it is costed at 170 billion, we are spending 2.2 trillion in debt finance this year. Get that 170 billion from that money you're going to spend on debt, put it in healthcare. Education, primary to tertiary, costed is less than 300 billion. Remove that 300 billion from the legal debts, put it in there. And in terms of commitment, this is how the Kenyan people should be asking. What will you say, for example, Safina? Who goes to school? It's not government. No. It's the people. So take your kid to school and don't pay school fees. Because that is the commitment. Let it be the problem of the administration. You had told us you will not charge school fees.
Yep.
So I'll take my kid to school. Who gets sick? It's the people, not government. Go to hospital and demand for the services. Don't pay a single coin. In fact, what we should be doing is demanding for the service not just to be there, that it must be quality. Not that because it's free, that now the quality is bad.
So essentially what you're doing, Willis, is that you're asking Kenyans to be, number one, aware of the circumstances in which they currently find themselves, and then also to be aware of their rights under, whether it's the Constitution or under the promises that were made by an administration. If we take a step out of Kenya for a moment and look at what's going on in different parts of this continent, it's very interesting because folks are talking about the winds of change blowing north. Malawi, we saw that the former president was essentially removed from office they brought in a man who had been president previously and said, he's 85 years old, but we're going to give him another chance to be able to do this. And he said, okay, I will go and I will leave. We saw the same happen in Botswana. We then have now seen, as of yesterday, the people of Madagascar said enough is enough. We are dealing with issues that we can't handle and we're not going to take this anymore. The president and his administration asked the military to step in and essentially silence protesters. The military said no and sat on the seat essentially and said, we're not going to allow this to happen, causing the president to evacuate State House, and the military now, for now, is running things. This is the mind of people on the continent, that they are saying no to leadership by wanton abandon. Are these winds blowing north?
Take it this way. We must take cognizance of the times we live in. And it only takes a fool to not recognize that times have changed. And the period we are in is a period of social awareness, reawakening, so to speak, of the psyche of the human, that people are now putting their governments to account. The template of past, where even in terms of global issues, the focus was not on the people. This era, it's about the people. It's about, is my government making sense to me? That is where we are in. It's like where we were in 1990s, where the wind of change was blowing towards opening up for multi-party democracy. This particular period, it's about governments accounting to their people. And if you look at all those counties you've mentioned, it's all about the economy. Yeah, people are simply saying now, the cost of living is high, we are not able to access water, healthcare services, they are going to the streets. Life is unbearable. It's only on the economic question, not political rights. In 92, it was about political rights. Open up the democratic space. Today, it's about, in my own household, am I getting quality services or living a quality life? Or is my government hindering my ability to enjoy an economic life worth living? So it's happening. The Gen Zs in Kenya started it, or was just the spark. It has been picked successfully in different jurisdictions. It has worked. So it will only take a fool to think that it will not succeed in Kenya. It will succeed in Kenya. On or before the next elections. Yeah. And legacy politicians are aware of this. That is why when you see them caucusing together, coalescing, they understand that their position is under threat. Those who they've been using as their subjects have now raised a new issue. So they must galvanize to protect their individual interests.
And it has worked for them in the past.
It has not.
And it's yes, it has, Willis. Look, it's not. We've had coalitions. We can call them whatever it is we want. Coalitions, alliances, all these groupings. Like you earlier stated. So you had the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua in government. Now he's in opposition. So you have united opposition. Now we are looking at a united government where the president is saying, look, I want to reaffirm that my administration is committed to transform the economy, and this is how we're going to do it. We're bringing in Gideon Moi. We are already talking to, we're already with Raila Odinga. I'm also, and he admitted and saying that he has consulted former President Uhuru Kenyatta. So looks like there are consultations happening behind the scenes, and these people that you're calling the legacy politicians are regrouping. And this has happened in the past. On this other side, you have the united opposition saying, look, we have a plan. And the plan is, one, we need to get and it's like a divine appointment. We need to get this man out of power one term. Then you have on the side, Matiang'i, for example, who over the weekend said that he can never join Ruto and is charting his own path. And I'm just remembering, there's a quote, if you've watched House of Cards by President Frank Underwood. I watch House of Cards and I see Kenya in so many ways. There's something he says, that for those of us climbing to the top of the food chain, there can be no mercy. There is but one rule, hunt or be hunted. So, in this case, who is the hunter and who is being hunted?
Dennis, understand it this way. That list of legacy politicians you've mentioned, there's no difference.
I agree with this.
There's no difference. They're all the same. I don't even know why.
It has worked. Whatever they've done, it has worked in the past.
No. That has been what they've been used to. Even Rajoil in Madagascar, it has worked for him before in the past. But today, it's out. In Botswana, Botswana People's Party, it has worked for them in the past. When the time came, Boko and the opposition won. So what has worked for them is what they know. They're trying to maintain. That's what I'm saying. They're trying to maintain. So leave that past alone. Focus on the future. Where we are. They are coalescing and attempting to define the future. What they are missing is this. Previously, people will be caucusing around tribe. And Kigogo, Mtuetu, you're a big man from your tribe to represent you. These guys used to incite tribal wars against fellow Kenyans. We must call it for what it has been. We've been on tribal wars here for the last almost 60 years. Fueled by legacy politicians, using as a tool to divide Kenyans. But last year, we witnessed a change where Kenyans united in one accord said, we are agitating on an issue that unites all of us. Even those legacy politicians are affected by it. Only that they are selfish. And it was the economy. So now, this is the plan that they're trying to do. One group classes itself as united government. The other group classes itself as united opposition. Underlying all of this is there's no commitment to the Kenyan people. You just hear platitudes and empty speeches about the economy. Nothing tangible. You are being sold a nirvana that Kenya will be like Singapore. How? Where? How? Okay, we agree we want to be like Singapore, but how? We were there before. Singapore even followed us. So you are told this Singapore as a futuristic thing. It's okay, we'll be like Singapore, but today, what's the tangible economic? Let's have a tangible economic conversation. They're not telling you anything. They now resort to sloganeering. 1 term, 2 term. And don't be surprised if you'll still see again more and more of these changes. We've said here before. Look at the last election. Raila Odinga was running for president. Ruto was running for president. Raila's running mate was Martha. Previously, Karua had been his running mate. Kalonzo had been his running mate. Ruto's running mate was Gachagua. Today, the presidents are on one side, the running mates on the other side. Uhuru Kenyatta had been a president. Ruto is telling us they are consulting. Matiang'i was his de facto chief prime cabinet. Now, he's on this side. So you're telling me that if you are focusing on these two camps, and there will be any future, these are people who have been the same. They can simply crisscross, change jerseys, remove yellow and wear orange, and swap.
So there's no allegiance to Kenya?
into these legacy politicians, there's no allegiance. It's about them. And it's so much easier for them to caucus and find a solution. I mean, their solution. And their solution is, how do we ensure perpetuity? How do we continue?
And so for the Kenyan today who's asking the question, that, as we say these things more and more, that it is now becoming a reality, on whatever lines, that, there are people who are politicians who, they may say it, but how they really feel about the country it can be evident. Nobody needs to say it for them to believe it or not. So there's many a Kenyan who is wondering, okay, so then what do we do? Is it enough for me to go register as a voter and then cast my vote come the next election? What must I do today? Because, Willis, there are folks who have grown up in this cycle. You see these people that you've talked about that have been on the scene for the last 30, 40 years? That's all they've known. There's somebody who is 40 years old today, who these faces are the only ones that they've seen, and that the horizon doesn't look any clearer. So there are folks who, and in their prime of life right now, who are thinking, okay, so if we're going to make a change for our children who are coming behind us, and for any kind of hope in the future, we can complain, or we can do a little bit of what you said, Willis, where open your eyes and see who these folks really are. But then beyond that, what do you do? Is a vote enough?
In fact, yeah, partly enough. But the first thing that we must do, and I urge our people, the first thing is to reject legacy politics. Start by rejecting it. Once you reject them and make them relevant in your life, you'll now remove that curtain that is blocking your view. Then you focus on, what do I want for myself? What do I want for this country? As you start looking at political groupings based on their promises and if they're tangible. Understand that politics or even governance is not about them, it's about you. Start asking yourself, if I want to hire someone to work for me, what are the issues I look out for? Not what they are telling me, it is what I want to see in the person who I want to hire to do something for. Because you're hiring your leadership. You are going to donate your sovereignty to these people. You are going to donate your resources to them. How do you want them to manage it? What do you want it to be applied towards? That's what government is about.
You see,
yes.
Yeah. Willis, you've talked about a lot about legacy politicians and how Kenyans should get rid of them. But now let's look at how moving forward, say, Safina Party now forms government, right? So there is the question of economy and odious debt. Clearly, you've pronounced yourself on that. But now there is matters to do with corruption. Talk about justice, because now we're talking about let us compensate those who've been killed before by the police, right? But there is no conversation about justice. You can't have compensation without justice. There is cost of living. I mean, you've always said that it is the people who will tell you how their lives are, if it has improved. It is not about statistics being given by government, then beat your chest and say, things have gotten better. It is the people that will tell you. So, for conversation's sake, say, Safina forms government, how do you then address this different from how legacy politicians would do it?
Let me take, for example, on cost of living. In our promise, we've said we'll do away with 16% VAT and introduce a 5% sales tax. Who pays VAT? It's the individual. Who charges VAT is the individuals. So we are simply saying, once you're in office, don't charge 16% VAT, reconfigure your ATRs, charge only 5% sales tax. Immediately, just that alone, you reduce the cost of vertible goods and services by 5%. By 11%. Immediately, by that alone, you've given everybody a breather. And it is the people who pays that VAT. They are the ones who said we are voting for an administration that will not charge us 16% VAT. We'll only be paying 5% sales tax. They get an immediate breather. Go to police. Number one, when you talk about security, why is it that our police are what they are? They are a force and not a service. The police are a tool of oppression used by legacy politicians to deal with and to clamp down on any dissent or anybody who is agitating and demanding for a better country. That's what the police has been turned into. Over the weekend, this last 1 week, I've read reports of not less than 2 people killed in police stations. Not less than 2. And the numbers may be more. Why? And if they go to agitate to ask, nobody's talking to them. As Safina, what you said is very simple. Every police station, the people who are served by that police station, the precincts, they will go and vote for what we call a local community oversight committee, elected by the people, individuals from that community, who will sit as a board over every police station to oversight its operations. They can go into the cell, inspect why are these committee members, why are these inmates being held here for more than 24 hours, not taken to court? Why is this inmate injured, not been taken to hospital? And where did he get his injuries? Is it in the cells or outside? Why are these one not been admitted to cash bail? Yet the offense is a bailable offense. So they note it down. Why are these one, you are sent out to go and attend to demonstrations? Who was given firearms? Why did you fire ammunition, your firearm? Or what are the circumstances? Did it lead to any fatality? Where's the incident report? Which officer in particular is responsible? That should be the work of the Civilian Oversight Committee for every police station in this country.
But Willis, are these people going to earn salaries?
No. Look at school boards. Look at school boards. Because look at, we fashioned it in the context of school boards, boards of governors, where every school in Kenya, education is a service. And in every educational institution in this country, there's a board of management. If you want the police to function, how can you say police is a service and they don't have a board of management that oversees what they're doing? Just in similar fashion that the boards of governors for schools, and schools are more than police stations. I've delivered. We're not saying these are employees. These are volunteers from the community who are elected by the people, chosen by the people, to go and oversight how police administration is conducted in their precinct. But ultimately, we're also saying this, that as Safina, every OCPD, the sub-county commander, we will turn that position to become a sheriff and elected by the people directly. So that you will not be telling us that I'm getting orders from above. Your above is going to be the people who are voting for you. You are accountable to those people. That's the commander, the sheriff. The officers are still under the National Police Service Commission, appointed in the usual manner. The IG still remains. But the sheriff, the one who we know as OCPD, is elected by the people.
Willis, is it going to... I hear you, because I've seen that system work in other countries.
Yes.
That have had differences, but you look at where we are as a country, and I really want to hear this from you. You can have a very, very good structure, a very good policy, but then when you're taking it to the people, my concern is, as we've seen it in the past, especially when it comes to even police recruitments, and these are appointments. So you'll, for example, you're the senior person at the head. So people within a community will look at you from the point of tribe, like, wewe ni Mluya, ama ni Mjaluo. Okay, your assistant then can also be, if you're Luo, your assistant can't be a Luo, your assistant has to be a Kikuyu. Then there's a question of who are the majority around here. We still have those kind of issues. Number 2, because I want to understand how can this structure work in such a toxic tribal environment that we're in currently. 2 is, if you have people who are salaried, and we've seen this very many times, where, for example, somebody will call for a meeting, and we've seen this with those CPDs. These guys have money. These police bosses have money. So how will you stop corruption from going to those levels where these people basically are working as volunteers? They're not getting paid. But then you have an OCPD here who gets paid and has other monies elsewhere, who will then try to influence outcomes and influence a way of doing things, because we've had that culture. And I'm drawing this from this conversation around these legacy politicians and how they also manage. They could be lying, and they are lying, but they still manage to get crowds. And when you try to analyze, you look at these crowds, you'll see it's school buses that are ferrying these people to these venues. You'll see these mamambogas being paid 200, 500, 1,000. And you'll see a lot of these crowds in these political meetings. They clearly don't believe what this person is saying, but they are there spending a whole afternoon because they were given 500 shillings. How do we get this culture from our mindsets to a place where if you have that kind of structure working against impunity, bad leadership, governance, and fight corruption, have the system work, but people are also willing to make the systems work?
First and foremost, we have over 3,000 police stations across the country. If you want to eat an elephant, you break it down into pieces. You can't swallow it. So this system will easily work first and foremost when you say we are doing it at the localist level, police station. So look at the units, even the numbers, households served by a police station. You've broken it down, and you're telling people to vote for their security. When you are voting for your local oversight committee, it's your security.
Yep.
It's not about a promise that I'll bring for you development. I'll bring for you roads. This one is, I'm going to protect your home. You are taking responsibility for the security in your home. How many Kenyans are going to compromise their own safety by saying, at the promise of money, I'm willing to be attacked at my home, to allow marauding thugs to run my security? Very few. And because you've broken it down to so many polling stations, units, it's over 3,000 police stations. The numbers are manageable. It is not a mass, like you're saying. You can carry neighboring villages to come and overwhelm a particular locality. Today in Nairobi, you can easily see politicians. Somebody has a gathering in Embakasi, you can easily go to Kibra and to Madare and pick a crowd and take there. In this particular instance, we are simply saying, Madare must choose their own OCPD. The police stations inside Madare, not OCPD, must choose their own local oversight committee. They know all those people. They are responsible for oversight of police station. It comes to police, OCPD, the sheriff, we know the police divisions. We are going to choose someone who is going to protect us. It's different. Because in this particular instance, you're asking someone that's going to protect you. Not like before, where you're voting someone on a promise that he will bring for you development, which is undefined. This one you're simply saying, I don't want to see my house broken into. So there will be a higher responsibility, a higher calling. But what's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is this. Some may not work, but majority will work. And we learn from it. And you lose nothing by trying something new. Because the ones that we have, we know what we have. We know what we have. What we have is police can now come here and pick me, or pick you, God forbid, and take you to Central Police Station, and we are not sure if you will come out alive. Just like Herbert Ojwang. That is what we know. At least we are sure they are capable of doing that. Now, we should not fear the potential of something revolutionary that changes how they work. And I recognize there may be risks and some challenges, teething challenges. But I always say the safest ship is the one at the harbor. But that is not why ships were built. You'll only enjoy this or feel it when you go out there and try these ideas. We test it. Give the people an opportunity to reconstruct their policing. But if we hold back to the comfort, that no, we don't want to try, the police will keep coming and picking you like sitting ducks.
Do you believe the same should apply then to top leadership? Let's say, for example, the presidency. So say, okay, we're giving you a contract. Whether this means changing the constitution. So we're giving you a contract and it's renewable every 1 year, not 5 years. So if we're not happy with what you're doing, because we always have the conversation of the first 100 days. We always have this number. So first 100 days. So let's just stretch it out and say, okay, we're giving you 1 year. If we are not satisfied by what you're doing, then we have a clause that then recalls you.
In fact, you know what we are heading towards, if you ask me.
Yes.
It's about accountability, getting people to be involved in their governance, because the resources that are being expended are their resources. Progressively, once we get to that stage, that can even be rotation, even a yearly leadership. Switzerland, for example, is one of the richest countries per capita. In terms of per capita for the citizens. They don't have a sitting president. They have a 1 year presidency. They've reached that level where everything is by almost referendum. They've designed the systems. So yes,
Even building a road.
People will have to vote.
Yep.
So we may at some point get there. But we are where we are now. We start with these ones. Once these OCPDs, the sheriffs work well, the local communities work well, then we go to the political leadership. You can even say even MPs. Who said you must all meet in parliament? No, MPs, legislative issues should be discussed at a local community level. So convene yourselves a local community, and the national proposes a legislation. We all sit as a committee, design a tool that can give us all an opportunity to vote. Is it phones? Now we have modern technology. Or are we creating for every individual a unique identifier that enables him to cast his vote on any issue you get?
Yeah.
So we must progress the conversation, because the ultimate goal is to make sure that the voice of the citizen is the determinant voice in his governance.
A lot of these things are wrapped around resources, and it's an economy. I mean, for goodness sake, the last election was an economic one. It was one that was based on the economy, in terms of what was going to happen and put money into the hands of people. I want to ask a question about resources and their sufficiency. I'm not even talking about the efficient use of resources. I'm asking about, are the resources that Kenya has today sufficient enough to run government? Everything that we see as a problem, the bottom line is money. Look at your health system. Well, we don't have enough money. Look at your education system. My God, we didn't send enough capitation. The term is ending now. The year is over, and we still are out about 4,000 shillings on capitation, about 4,000 to 5,000 shillings on capitation. And I can bet you my bottom dollar that 5,000 shillings per student is not going to be sent. It's not going to be sent.
True.
That's done. When we look at other issues, infrastructure, road infrastructure, we're told, well, there's just not enough money. The governor of Nairobi just the other day said, well, there's some roads that we need to work on, but, we're waiting for money. We look at so many things that need to be happening, but we don't have enough money. And that's why we borrow. The debt is at 12 trillion shillings now. The first charge on the consolidated fund is debt to 70% of revenue. I mean, everything you look at is a resource issue, and the proper spend of these resources. Is there enough? So it doesn't really matter what administration you bring in. You could bring in Angel Gabriel himself, and you could hear that maybe there's not enough.
No. The first thing Angel Gabriel will do is to administer the sacrament when it comes. In this particular instance, for example, as a Safina, the first thing we are going to do is to suspend all debt payments. Yeah, we are saying it's illegal. The largest expenditure item of your revenue, your budget, is debt. So why should you continue with it if it is illegal? That is our thing. As we are saying, illegal debt we are not paying, because this year alone we are paying 2.3 trillion towards debt finance. The moment you spend 2.3 trillion shillings to pay illegal debt, what we are saying is illegal. Money that was taken in the name of Kenya, part of it is lying in people's private accounts. Why should Kenyan people pay for it? We will not pay it. Then, the next conversation now will be, okay, so what's the problem? The problem is that shift share is costed at 158 billion. That is what they've costed it, to run universal healthcare here in Kenya. Take the 2.3 trillion, take 200 billion, apply it towards the universal healthcare. So no Kenyan will ever remove a coin to pay for his health services. You all need an ID, and you walk into a facility, you get it for free. You've been told it's costing 158 billion. So you will not pay the illegal debt. We have 2.3 trillion. Take 200 billion, put it in healthcare. So it becomes free for everybody. You're telling me about education. Costing of education, if you look at the numbers in terms of per capitation for every kid in primary school, every kid in secondary school, calculate those numbers, and even tertiary, we talk of TVET, it will cost you less than 300 billion. So you have saved 2.3 trillion. Remove 300 billion from that money that you've not spent on legal debt. Education becomes free in the sense that you now use taxpayers' money, what could have gone towards debt finance, applied to the education. No parent will now remove a coin from his pocket to pay for education. No contribution from the parents. But if you don't deal with this problem, what the government is doing today is this. They keep shacking responsibilities back to the people. They are raiding your pocket every day. So they keep coming to you every day, increase your taxes, charges, and levies. The government had a duty to pay for healthcare services using taxpayer money. They stop supporting healthcare. So you are forced raise your own resources. Education, they've failed to send capitation. So you're forced to increase school fees.
And is it because the resources are not there?
No, I've told you the resources are being misapplied. 70% of it is going to illegal debt.
But then we still have things
save
like
that debt.
Nota. There's a new thing now. I don't know. It's 50,000 shillings to, I don't know.
But
and then there's
that is peanuts. What happened is this. That is peanuts, because the problem is the 70%. They are left with 30% to run their operations, pay their salaries, do development. They are not doing it. So they're focusing us on what, in this bigger scheme of things, will not impact anybody. So they keep you busy in Nyota. They keep you busy in Jukwaa la Usalama, which are nonsense conversations. But they don't want to focus you on why the economy is not working. If we don't deal with the economic question, why it's not working for us, the rest, to me, is just a waste of time.
I hear you speak, Willis, in terms of Kenya. Our problem is expenditure. Collection is not a problem.
It's not a problem.
We have enough to run this country. And if we just deal with the corruption question in the country, we deal with address the debt problem in the country, then we are able to sort ourselves out and live easily.
Precisely.
But how then would you deal with what one would call expenditure in terms of salaries that people are paid in government? How would you address that?
You know, as it is now, my view is that people go into government because they want to earn money for themselves. As we believe in less government as Safina, it should be less government. What are the core functions of government? Defense, foreign relations, facilitate certain for social services, legislation, adjudication, judiciary. Yeah. Focus on only key roles of government. The rest, you don't need government. Let the private sector do it. Government just becomes a facilitator. So we believe in less government. In fact, if you asked me, for example, what should be the motivation for someone to become a member of parliament? It cannot be the salary of CDF. That's not your duty. We don't need CDF. Yeah, we don't need those bursaries that they're running. Because as Safina, we are saying education will be free. There is no contribution from the parent to pay for education. So when you are getting to become a member of parliament, don't think you're going to run some CDF kit your bursary fund. No. Those incentives that make people think they should aspire to these positions, you take them out. So you only become a member of parliament when you're about service, representation. Because in the ideal, the people should have been speaking themselves, voting for every issue like happens in Switzerland. But just because of our numbers, and we have yet to develop the infrastructures for everybody to appear, to participate, we send one of us. When you are chosen to be that one of us we send to represent, don't turn yourself into a profiteer, that now you want to profit from the message. No. Make it unattractive in terms of monetary incentives. Because it's about a service. Ni kujitolea.
So, Willis, how do we make, because you earlier said, okay, we have these legacy politicians, and it seems we keep making them relevant, and our conversations are just going round in circles about them, and the issue now is not economy anymore. How do we circle back to discussing these issues that you're raising, and who is the person leading this? Because at the moment, the people on offer are these ones that we've been talking about.
You see, Dennis, don't despair. At least you invited me here. You've given me a platform. You've given me a platform to share this, have this conversation. So just keep harping on, but the issue is the economy. Ask each of these political caucuses. Tell us, what is your promise on the economy? And we question you. Tangible. Not fake promises. Tangible. Just like the other Dennis has asked me. How will you pay for this? How will you get? So, and I'm seeing the next guest also is a political. Ask him, okay, we've had the truth one time, we agree. Now tell us, what is the need for Kenyans? What is your promise on the economy? Ask all of these campaigns, we focus on the agenda. What is your economic agenda? That should be the discussion. Then once we are clear on what the agenda is, the personalities will come later. But legacy politicians will prefer you start with personalities. That Raila is here, Ruto is here,
so the focus is going towards setting an agenda, and an economic one, a social one that is wrapped around the justice system, and the individuals who will come in to be agents of impact and change, it shouldn't matter who they are.
Exactly.
Because you're plugging into a system that is working and that is efficient.
Exactly.
So what we are saying essentially is that political parties, as they're set up, should actually live out what they were originally designed to be.
Exactly.
Whereby they were ideological in nature, and it doesn't matter who it is, so long as they're pushing that ideological agenda.
Like for us, Safina, we've come up with our feast agenda, the 5-point agenda. Call it the feast agenda. Not paying odious debt. We are no citizen is contributing towards education. Education becomes free from primary to tertiary. Healthcare services, the money saved from odious debt, apply to healthcare services. Do away with 16% VAT, make it 5% sales tax. Don't borrow from the domestic market. Release that money in the domestic market back to the people. Government not borrowing from the domestic market. That money should be available to the private sector, the individuals to be able to access it at low interest rates. So the private sector, the individual becomes the driver of economic growth.
The economy.
Not government.
As it should.
Now, that is our feast agenda as Safina. I urge you, Dennis, ask, for example, there were two-termers. What is your agenda? Don't tell us about the individuals behind the two-term. Just tell us the agenda. Then we go to the one-termers. Tell us your agenda. United Opposition. Tell us your agenda. Then it becomes now a battle of agendas. Which is the best? And if we agree on this is the agenda, even if Willis is not there, so we know the Safina agenda, we know their commitment, the agenda will be implemented.
It will carry
if they're in
the day.
office.
Stuff to think about, definitely, and stuff to continue conversing about. It's a good way to start the week and get into a Monday morning with these thoughts top of mind. Wakili Willis Otieno, also the Deputy Party Leader of Safina Party. Thank you for being here with us this morning. A lot, like I said, to think about and for us to continue to wrap our heads around. So thank you for just moving this conversation along with us this morning. Asante.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.